What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Active Life Podcast. I'm Dr. Sean Pastuch. This is Larry Geyer. Full disclosure, he has no idea what he's about to do with me on this show today, and I'm not really sure where it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
Is that a reasonable expectation for when we podcast together?
Yeah.
The last show we did, so if you didn't listen to the last show, I highly recommend that you go back and then completely ignore the intro. Because we talked about a topic we were going to discuss, and then...
We're clear he's not going to edit this?
Why would he edit this?
No, he's not going to edit the first 8 minutes off that last one?
No. We gotta let it go. He'll edit off the first 8 minutes where we did like 3 different introductions.
Yeah.
But then we did a real introduction and didn't talk about that at all.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just not have an expectation for this one. Okay. Not pretend we know what we're gonna do.
All right, 3, 2, go.
We already did the intro. So what I want to talk about is stories, because I think people like stories, about early days of personal training in your career and in my career. And I want to start by asking a question.
Okay.
And I want to see if you have a good answer or if anybody from the audience is able to give a good answer.
Brace yourselves, folks. Have something else entertaining on deck just in case.
No, this will be entertaining if nothing else. Why is it that men 65 and up
love where this is going.
Commercial gyms feel that it's appropriate to start a conversation wearing a hat, socks, shoes, a t-shirt, and nothing, no underwear.
Probably because it feels good and it's a safe space to do it.
But have you ever been in a locker room in a commercial gym?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's great.
Have you ever had somebody come up to you and put their foot up on the bench so that they can air dry?
Yeah.
No, not with a towel.
Oh, I got the towel.
No, so you had somebody actively drying. So you had ball dust flying in your face. That's an experience.
I call it dust.
What would you call it?
They just got to, hopefully the shower washed the dust off.
So do you see, like, would you do this right now?
No.
Okay.
But
this is what I'm talking about, right? Like you wouldn't do it right now.
I'm interested in what the threshold of the age is for me. I would do it in a different country.
Would you?
Yeah. I wouldn't do it in a city where I'm going to see a bunch of folks the next day.
What?
I don't know. So
for
but I'm
you,
interested in what's the age at which I'm wisely unconcerned about that.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
I don't know
is it that we're just too young and dumb to realize that it's reasonable to put my foot up and dry my balls with a hair dryer while I have a conversation with somebody?
That's all. We just still care. We just still give that.
So you're saying
much
it's
more
socially
of a
unacceptable,
shit.
But that person's like, I'm 65 plus and I genuinely don't care.
It's not that it's socially unacceptable because they do it and they're not getting beaten to death in the alleyway.
But so are we the ones wrong?
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at. So,
and I'm prepared to be wrong for a little bit longer.
Yeah, so am I. I'm still not down to do that. This, by the way, this conversation topic stemmed from what we just saw across the street.
I've never seen anything like it, and I'm very glad I did.
Talk about it.
So we're sitting here talking about whether or not we should record some more gold for you folks. And when we look across the street, with one foot on the curb, one curb in the street, in front of a bus stop.
Right. So picture this woman.
Oh yeah, you tell it.
No, because you're doing a bad job.
Right. That's what I'm telling you to
She had her right foot in the street, her left foot on the curb. She's wearing a varsity Letterman jacket.
So your version's better just because you hadn't gotten to a detail that I hadn't gotten to yet. Is that how this works?
No, you were describing her body position in a way that was convoluted and difficult to understand and picture.
Okay, so the varsity jacket.
She's wearing it. Let me start over because you blew it for them. She's got her left foot on the curb, her right foot in the street. The left foot is obviously bent. She's got a varsity jacket on and these colorful tights. And she's got a Minnie Mouse thing on the bench behind her. And I'm looking across the street and I'm like, is that woman topless? Is she sunning her boobs? To which Larry says, no. And then breaks out his phone to zoom in. And yes, she most definitely is sunning her boobs. And that's what we just spent the last 5 minutes.
We had an 8-second nipple rub too.
She did until a public safety officer pulled up.
She closed her jacket real fast.
She did, and then she got out of there and yelled at the guy.
Fast.
But the reason why I wanted to share that story with you is because I'm genuinely interested in when I was a 22-year-old trainer, the things I did were radically different than what I believe is appropriate to do today. Not from let my balls hang out while I'm in the locker room talking to somebody, but from the way I deliver training. And I've evolved. But one of the things I talked to a recent podcast guest about, Aaron Adams, is the idea that I probably let's take the probably out, as I've developed as a coach, I've looked back at versions of myself who were younger and judged them for doing a poor job. So I thought it'd be valuable to share with people examples of things that I did poorly, that you did poorly, that we have improved upon along the way, and just make light of it so it doesn't feel like such a heavy topic and people have to just hate themselves for not being the perfect version yet.
Yeah.
So what's something that you have screwed up? By the way, notice I didn't talk about anything I've screwed up yet. We're going to start with you.
I'm okay with that. I hurt a 62-year-old woman named Nancy.
Did you really?
Yeah, I've heard.
Wait, hurt like you physically made contact and hurt her, or you worked
like
her out?
She was late, and I punched her in the fucking face.
Did she know you were going to punch her in the face?
No, that's why it was so effective. But
so obviously you're
regret
talking
it.
about a metaphorical punch in the face.
I regret it. No, I mean physical.
Yeah.
No. So there are 4 people that I've hurt in my career through bad training decisions, and those 4 people haunt me, and I've never made similar mistakes again.
How did you hurt Nancy?
We were 3 months in, and she was in awe over the way she could feel from step-ups, TRX rows, and kettlebell deadlifts. And she had been making so much progress.
Was this at New York Sports Club?
This was at New York Sports Club at the time. She was making so much progress, and I was so on top of the world about what I was doing with this person that when she executed one of her kettlebell deadlifts that was at 45 pounds and she was doing for sets of 5, she was describing how easy they were. So I decided that she should find out how much weight she should pull today. And that resulted in her ultimately ending up needed to not work together anymore because she started bleeding.
Physically bleeding?
Intra-abdominally.
Oh, wow.
And she had a hernia that took a while to...
So she created a hernia while she was working with you?
Yeah.
Did she hold it against you?
She didn't. She was incredibly gracious about the whole thing. And I didn't take her from 45 to 135. It wasn't anything like that. It was just inappropriate. I just made it impulsive. I probably made a selfish and obviously very immature training decision.
Well, you went off script and tried to prove something.
Yeah. And that...
How much of that...
that sucker punched me.
Hold on. How much of that do you think... Do you think it sucker punched you because deep down you were actually looking to prove something to yourself and not have her prove something to herself?
It was probably both.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was both. And that's why I say it was selfish. Right? I know that there was ego in it, and that was the first person that I hurt, and that was the last time I ever made an ego-based decision for one of my clients.
Really?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
6
You're
years
telling
ago.
me you haven't made an ego decision in 6 years?
That's probably not true, but none of them have been measurably harmful.
Okay.
Or
That's
obviously
fair.
harmful.
That's fair. I'll tell you a story. I had a client who, not dissimilar to what you just described, had a pacemaker. And she was getting really good at stepping up on a box. And if you're not familiar with working with a pacemaker client, their heart rate does not change. Or
it doesn't dip below a certain number, right?
Or go above a certain number.
I see.
So turns out you can test that. You shouldn't. I had to try jumping on a box because I thought like this 67-year-old woman could benefit from jumping on a box just to prove to herself that she can jump on a box. And really the reason why I asked you my question of you is I wasn't really trying to prove it to her. I was trying
You wanted to be the guy that got the 67-year-old woman.
Yeah, it was about my ego. Like I'm the man. Mm-hmm. So she goes to jump up on the box, which she agreed to do. She missed. I caught her. I was there to catch and spot her, and her pacemaker spiked. Like it jumped up for like 4 or 5 seconds, and then her heart rate came right back down to where it was supposed to be. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen is somebody's heart rate go from like 60 to 140 to 60 in a 7-second span. I don't know, I'm making up the time frame now. It was like 15 years ago. But same kind of thing, right? Like I was like, let's see if you can do this. When that's never something that a trainer probably should say. But this woman was the woman who would show up to the gym, hair blown out, makeup done, top matched the bottom. She was like a vixen of a 67-year-old, like loved being the woman who flaunted herself around the gym, loved working with her, and just will never do something where I'm like, let's see what you got here in the gym again.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
It was important because it was a check on how seriously I was going to take the job.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever spent time stretching a client because you didn't know what to do next?
Yeah, that was like one of my favorite things to stop doing when I realized that's not what people were paying me for.
How did you realize?
When I realized that, one, the stretching them wasn't actually providing the solution that they came to me for. And 2, that I didn't need to fill time because I wasn't selling time.
When did that happen then? When did you realize that? Because when you were working in sports club, there's no way they let you do that.
They did let me do that. I did that regularly there.
No, I'm saying there's no way they let you not finish an hour with it.
Oh, no, they did.
They would let you not finish an hour?
I started doing it then. I don't know whether or not they let anyone else do it and whether or not they were happy
Are you talking about stretching people or are you talking about...
Not filling the hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I just started doing it then. Mm-hmm. It was actually when I started in your clinic and we started talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the clinic for a second because last time on the podcast, you said we could tell that story another time, so I feel like we should tell that story.
Garden Pea story?
Yeah.
Send it.
Okay. So if this doesn't tell you anything about Larry and my personal growth and professional growth over the last 6 years, then we've done nothing. We've done nothing to teach anything. What? What are you about to say?
Carry on.
Oh, what are you going to say?
I was going to say that I would still do something like that. So sorry. I don't know if that's antithetical to everything you were just describing.
So Larry is at the time an intern in my office for 2 weeks. Patient comes in, she's pregnant, and I'm describing to her that I love my garden that I've recently started.
She's very pregnant.
Yeah, very pregnant. And Larry had helped me get my garden started. He had a green thumb at the time. Now he only eats meat, fruit, raw dairy, and honey. What'd you say, Claire?
Clarice's
right. Larry's so virtuous with his diet that he will only eat whole animal products, organic farmed fruit and vegetables, raw dairy, and a fucking 3 scoop of ice cream and a box of Oreos at the same time. By the way, I've never seen somebody house a chocolate bar the way that you house a chocolate bar who also cares about the quality of chocolate.
So Amanda.
You understand though? It's an interesting... Because people who really like chocolate savor it. They do all kinds of things with it. You are just like...
Well, the chocolate that I got was... I was a fiend looking for a fix. I wasn't looking at a savor chocolate.
Yeah. So anyway, back to this story with the patient.
By the way, for chocolate, I don't know if I want to call yourselves aficionado, but if you guys really, really, really like chocolate, when I was living in Austria, the best chocolate I've ever had is... Oh, shit. I realize I have to tell you now the chocolate I've been withholding for you for 2 years.
Oh, good. Go for it.
Maybe I don't have to tell you guys.
I mean, it wased as good as you think it is.
You had the worst.
Good.
You had the worst bar I've ever had by them.
Got it.
And it was better than all the other shitty chocolate you eat.
Tell them this.
Zotter, Zotter, or just Zotter if you're an American. Best chocolate ever. They have a U.S. outpost. Look for the...
outpost? Or
whatever.
like a U.S. distributor?
Distributor.
Let's fast forward
from
1883
whiskey, guns,
to 2022.
Whiskey, guns, chocolate, and rattlesnake boots. So you're looking for the Nicaragua. It's like 50% cacao content or whatever it is. The flavor profile is hot chocolate.
It was very interesting.
You did not have the one I'm describing right now.
Well, the one you gave me was interesting.
Okay.
Because it wasn't milk nor was it dark.
Just look for that one and just put it on the roof of your mouth and just lick it until it melts. That's what chocolate is supposed to be.
Yeah, so back...
The pea story.
Why is Cleary from a different room telling us
he's hungry.
Is it that he's hungry?
He's hungry.
Or is it that he doesn't feel like he's in the conversation he wants to be?
He's hungry. He doesn't really care about being in the conversation. He cares about being fed 3 times a day.
I think he does. Okay. So anyway, I'm telling this patient about how much I love my garden, how it's growing really well. And she's like, nothing is growing in my garden. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So Larry, by the way, let me give you a visualization of what Larry looks like at the time. He's not as svelte and handsome as he is right now. Larry was wearing black jeans that came up to about 1.5 inches above his ankle. One of those universal size belts that it's a weave belt. So you can make it any size that you want. Totally utilitarian. Utilitarian? No, that's the wrong word.
Yeah, but there's no way I was wearing that.
You were.
Okay.
High utility for that belt.
All right.
Next, a maroon to navy ombre polo shirt with a white collar.
That's money, baby.
I feel like it was the only collared shirt you had at the time, and you felt like you needed to wear a collared shirt to the office. Tucked into said jeans, he had a soul patch instead of
Never in a million years.
Goatee.
Never in a million years.
What would you call what you had on your face?
Steve Wicks, I'm sorry. Never in a million years would I have a goatee.
What would you describe what you had on your face?
A patchy, neglectful shave job.
Fine, fair. And a ponytail. Hair pulled back tight into a dollar store
a messy bun.
pony holder.
All right, it was a messy bun.
There was no bun to it.
There's no way I was wearing a ponytail.
What are you talking about?
You're egregiously misremembering.
You wore a ponytail all the time. You're saying you didn't?
It was loosely messy bunned.
Okay. And I said, well, Larry's helped me with my garden a lot. You should ask him for advice. And I meant it. I thought Larry would provide this woman with sage advice. He turns to her and he says, why don't you tell him what you said?
Well, I just asked her if she was peeing in her garden.
And she said, peeing in my garden? No. Why would I pee in the garden?
Well, that's the explanation for why your plants aren't growing. You need to start peeing in your garden.
And Larry then went on to explain to her that it's good for your garden to pee in it. She's like, oh, okay. And now I'm in there and I'm thinking to myself two things. I'm like, number one, if it's so good for your garden to pee in it, why didn't Larry tell me to pee in my garden? And I'm angry at Larry for not telling me to pee in my garden at the time.
Right, the golden ticket. See what I did there?
Yes. And then I'm like, wait, should she really pee in her garden? So she leaves the room, she goes home, and I go back into the office with Larry, and I'm like, why didn't you ever tell me to pee in my garden? He's like, because it's a terrible idea. It's a dumb idea. I was like, then why did you tell her? And do you remember what you said to me?
I think it was something along the lines of, I don't know, just think about how funny it's going to be to imagine her going home and peeing in her garden.
It was exactly that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if I should laugh.
Or fire him.
Right. I'm like, do I laugh? Because that is really funny. Or am I like, you can't do that? It's so unprofessional. I don't think professionalism could be a core value if we keep doing that kind of stuff.
I think he ended up, I think it was both. I think he laughed and then told me something along the lines, let's not do that anymore.
Right, yeah. There was no firing there, though. But that's, look, it's where we come from. I remember.
Those are our roots.
Those are the roots. They're strong
Great
roots.
band, by the way.
The Roots?
Great band.
The Roots and the Nappy Roots are different bands, yes?
I don't know. But the Roots aren't called the Nappy Roots, so I would say yeah.
Well, they might have changed their name over time.
I don't know.
What's the song? It's something 2.0.
Yeah, I have the beat in my head. I don't remember the word.
Yeah, anyway, that was by the Nappy Roots, not the Roots.
No, it's by the Roots.
Cleary, can you check that?
It's by the Roots.
Yeah. The Seed 2.0.
The Seed 2.0, that's by the Roots. Yeah.
Google the name of that.
100%. Black Thought spits on it. It's the Roots.
I don't know what spits on it means.
He's the rapper on the Trek.
Cody Chestnut.
What you were going to say something about that was being our roots, and you were going to say something else.
Yeah, it's just like what I want to describe is that when you're a young coach in the gym, it's a lot of these kinds of things that you do. You listen to a podcast like ours. You take content in from other people who you believe are professional, who you want to be more like. And it's easy to believe that they were never like you are right now. And so you start judging yourself like, oh, I'm not at that level. I can't ever become at that level. Like I need to shame myself for this. And that's not at all the case. Like we've all done really, really, really dumb shit. Mm-hmm. Really dumb shit. Yep. Every time that Facebook now tells me like, hey, here's a memory from however many years ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look at that because I remember a time when if I left my Facebook screen open or my computer open, my business partner at the time.
I'd have been mortified if.
What?
Oh, sorry. Not the direction you were going.
No.
Carry on.
My business partner at the time. I don't know where you thought I was going. Yeah. My business partner at the time would come over and write something ridiculous as my status and post it.
And not where I was going.
And I wasn't thinking about my personal brand at the time. And I wouldn't delete it. Because I'd be like, no, it's funny. Leave it up. It's not funny. Like that stuff was not funny. And now if I see that, I'm like, that's the only stuff I would go back in time and delete. Because I'm like, that, like it was egregious. It was offensive. It was ridiculous. It was totally uncalled for. It was unprofessional. And if I find it, I have to delete it because I don't want people to believe that that's who I ever was. A person who would write that and believe that. So, but at the same time, I've said things that I'm not proud of in the last 2, 3, 4 years that I haven't removed because I believe it's important that people actually see the evolution of what I was genuinely thinking at the time, where the context is clear, where my opinion is clear, because I want you to be able to make mistakes while you're young in your career and as you age in your career and understand that it's not the end of what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way for you guys. You're definitely the most skilled anti-perfectionist I've ever met.
What does that mean? I'm not asking for more compliments. I mean, what do you mean by anti-perfectionist?
For those of you who are listening to this, he is asking for more compliments.
I'm not asking for compliments. I'm asking for context.
We're all cogs in the wheel of the ego that is Sean Pastuch.
Unbelievable.
And I'm going to pay him some more compliments.
Thanks.
The whole process that you just described, whereby you just document whatever is true right now, whatever is actually occurring. figure out the thing from it, and then just do the next better thing the next day, because you have the courage and the confidence that tomorrow you're just going to stand up and go do the next thing, and that you're not going to be able to, nothing that you do is going to be unrecoverable, either socially or practically. I think you do that better than anyone I've met, which is really, really cool, because it teaches people, it basically authorizes people to take chances that they previously might not have the courage to do without seeing examples of it.
Interesting. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. I also have a very unhealthy relationship with perfectionism. So it's been something that I've been able to learn a lot from.
You have an perfect.
That's fine. We could just end it there. That's it.
No,
just say thanks, and we're going to move on to the next.
I wasn't thinking about me. I'm thinking about you, because I've seen you do things, and I'm now questioning how uncomfortable does Larry get when he takes an imperfect step. I'm curious. I've never asked you that.
I don't understand the question.
You just described to me that you have an uncomfortable, unhealthy relationship with perfectionism. Mm-hmm. And I've seen you do things that are radically imperfect publicly. Mm-hmm. And I am curious about how uncomfortable you are before you do those things. I'll give you an example. We recently had our Boston event. And before the Boston event, we were on a call. And Rob, who was basically facilitating the event, said he wants to see all the presentations everybody's going to present ahead of time for the event so we can all see what each other are going to be doing. And I interrupted and I said, look, with all due respect, I believe that is something that would not be valuable for either myself or for Larry to do before the event, because we don't function well giving you something 2 weeks ahead of time and then rehearsing the thing and then delivering it on site. That's not how we deliver. Mm-hmm. You were fairly clear on what you were supposed to be speaking about, but very unclear about what you were going to say until about 45 seconds before you walked up on stage. Mm-hmm. How do you do that if you have this really uncomfortable relationship with imperfection?
That's a good question. I do it uncomfortably. And
does the discomfort make you better?
Yeah. Well, the stress and the discomfort definitely makes me better.
How?
Because I'm sharper.
How are you sharper when you're uncomfortable? So let me ask that a different way. It's one thing for people to hear this and be like, I'm uncomfortable when I go give public speeches, so I should always go do that, as compared to, no, you should prepare. You're better when you don't prepare in a finite way. You're better when you prepare esoterically over time and then show up and do the thing. Okay. What I'm asking is, how uncomfortable are you when you go up on stage?
Not uncomfortable.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'm not uncomfortable. I'm actually very comfortable on stage.
So how are you comfortable on stage, knowing that you're not exactly sure what you're going to talk about, knowing that if you're not exactly sure what you're going to say, you
commanding attention is very comfortable.
So it's the context in which you put the perfection. It's the, can I deliver and hold the room?
Yeah, that's the part that I'm most confident I'm going to be able to do. So when I'm there, I'm not really worried about it anymore.
So you just make yourself sick worrying about it until the day of, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, what was it making myself sick?
Yeah, I used to make myself sick. I don't really make myself sick anymore. But in general, I think what I mean by you doing the opposite of perfectionism is that
I'm not asking about me anymore. I'm asking about you.
It's all relative. It's the same thing right now.
Okay.
You just produce a lot.
A lot of content.
Yeah, because you just decide, this is what I'm going to say right now. Mm-hmm. I don't do that. I don't grow up like that. I've been aggressively trying to lean more and more and more in that direction, and just trust that I'm gonna be fine.
So, have you ever talked to somebody who, a student, let's say a student in ALP, who says to you like, I don't like to prepare. I just like to kind of do it when I get there. I'll wing it, if you will, and recognize like, no, there's a difference between what I do when I go up, and winging it.
No, I haven't had that conversation yet.
Okay, well then,
but I think it's a valuable difference to describe.
So let's talk about the difference.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I get thought of oftentimes as like, oh, Sean wings it when he goes on and gives a presentation, and winging it is not something that I would ever consider myself doing.
Yeah.
Right. And when I say that, it's internal, and I don't think it's in a negative way. I think that people mean it to say Sean can just show up and wing it and do a good job. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe they are saying, and that's how I'm going to hold it. I'm not winging it. For people who believe that they can show up to something and just willy-nilly figure it out, that's to fail to provide the respect to the audience who is going to be in the room. I am thinking about it for weeks before the conversation. Or if I agree to give a talk the week of or the day of or 2 days before, I'm giving a talk that is a different version of a talk I've given before because I want to be able to provide a really immersive and valuable experience for the people who are in the room. And there are certain principles that go into any talk that I've practiced. For example, when you go up on a stage, if you're winging it, how do you open when you go up on a stage? Do you have a way that you open when you're on a podcast? Do you have a way that you open? I believe the worst thing that somebody can do when they go up on a stage is step up to the room and say, "Hi, my name is Sean Pastuch. Thank you very much, Larry, for having me here. I really appreciate it. How much time do I have, by the way?"
Get to it. Yeah.
Right? Like you have tension in the room. So it's not winging it for me to know I am going to focus on the first thing I'm going to say when I walk up there. And if I can get the first thing right, the rest will come. Because in order to get the first thing, I have to think through the whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
But winging it would be, I don't know what I'm going to talk about when I get there. I'll just figure it out.
Well, so the other thing that's funny about this is that I think this all the time. I would rather go on stage in front of a bunch of people and talk about a topic that I didn't know about beforehand than like set my schedule for the week.
Well, I think that's because, the event that you don't know about or the topic?
Topic.
Yeah, because I think that gives you some freedom to make mistakes that you don't have to feel as though you should have been prepared to avoid. In other words, if I said to you, I want you to go up on stage and deliver a masterclass on how to price and sell your personal training sessions. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, what are the elements of that? Oh, I have to think of this, I think of this, I think of this. If you walk up on stage and someone's like, tell us about this, and you haven't had a chance to think about it, making mistakes is something that's easily excused. You didn't have the time to consider it.
Sure, that's fair. I think I was just talking about the difference in the relative ease with which I do different kinds of tasks.
Mm-hmm. So, you're a thinker. You're very good at being able to think and articulate thought in the same. I'm not
moment. Very good at thinking and putting things in boxes on paper.
No, but you're good in the moment of responding.
Yeah, it's the spontaneous response.
So how do you describe the difference between preparing in an esoteric way, if you will, and winging it? Because I did my best, but I think you could probably add some color to it.
No, I don't know that I could. Winging it would be going up on stage and pulling a topic out of a hat and starting to talk about it. Speaking without preparing vaguely, if you will, would be what are all the different ways that I think about this? What do I think the most important things are about this thing? How does it affect people? How does it affect me? How do I talk about it and think about it most of the time? What are the things that I think people are going to see differences in their lives of if they start to focus on these things and then go and talk about it?
So let me ask you a question then. Let's go off topic because you do well when we're off topic. And we haven't really had a topic anyway. I think we're kind of just
We did, but we blew it again.
No, I don't think we did. We talked about mistakes that we've made. And
Dude,
we went through
Larry,
it.
what was our topic? We totally blew it. What are you even talking about? These people like they did it again. We started talking about how we screwed up as personal trainers.
Yeah. We talked about mistakes we've made. So let me ask you something then. Along that same line, we're still kind of in the how to avoid making the same mistakes twice and give yourself the freedom to make the mistake the first time. Mm-hmm. Why do you want people to work with us? I mean, like
as consumers or as colleagues?
Great question. As consumers. So either as, let's keep it to the professional side, as coaches who want to take ALP or gym owners who want to be gym owners. I think there's a reasonable conversation to be had around why do we care if people work with us that goes beyond the money that we're able to make.
Right, I got you. My mom's 64. Mm-hmm. She has not been in a relationship for like 30 years.
In a married relationship.
Period.
What do you mean period?
Period. She hasn't been in a relationship like 30 years or so.
Like a new relationship.
Mm-hmm. She was the person who would walk into the clinic or any specialist's office, and when asked what hurts, her response would be everything.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
She's the person who says no to all of the activities because she's too afraid of how she's going to feel if she doesn't.
Says no to the things she wants to say yes to.
Yes. She's the person who doesn't have energy for conversations because the amount of energy that it costs her to just be herself every day has been so much that she literally runs out of mental bandwidth to even hold a conversation on the couch, much less go for a walk and have that conversation.
So two things I want to go back to. And then I want you to keep going. She says no to things that she wants to say yes to. Does she say no because she knows she can't, or does she say no because she's afraid she might not be able to when you know she could?
Both.
Okay. The second thing is, I find your mom to be a very enjoyable person to speak with and highly intelligent. And I can see through you the energy that she needs to spend to perhaps avoid being all of herself when she's in conversation. So it comes across.
Okay. So there's a lot about my relationship with her, save for the last 6 months. And I'll show you guys how that changed. For the last 29 and a half years until 6 months ago, it was very much.
You're only 30?
33. I'm going to be 33 in August.
Okay.
So save for the last 6 months, it was very much a relationship around why does my mom have to have this kind of life? Why is this the kind of mom that I have to have? And I've frankly need to do a better job of loving
Meaning
her.
you framed it selfishly.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. But mostly, yes, because of the kind of mom that I couldn't have, but also a healthy mix of she has the access to feel better than she does and to believe differently about herself than she does. I wish that she would do it. Right.
This is before 6 months ago.
Yep. And I selfishly wish that I could have her do that because I would like to have that kind of mom.
Right. Is that because you wanted to share things with her?
Yeah. It's because I wanted to just watch. I wanted to see what a joyful mom looks like. I wanted to see what a fulfilled mom looks like. I wanted to see what she could give me after her cup was full.
Right.
And I selfishly wanted that for myself. And I don't think that's inappropriate for someone to
I think it's very
want.
appropriate.
And I didn't have that for a long time. And I tried to sell her on doing all the things she needed to do for as long as I was taking it seriously, which is probably 13 years, 15 years maybe. And until 6 months ago, I didn't see any of that. And I had resigned to the fact that I was going to tell my kids that I don't have yet the 100% honest, accurate assessment that is your grandmother was a very, very loving woman and she had more love to give than she knew what to do with. And she was pretty miserable for most of her life, all through her death. And these are the ways that she lived so that you can live differently. I was getting ready to tell my kids that. 6 months ago, she started working with a coach that you and I both like and respect very, very much.
Asia
Campbell. They've been working together virtually 3 times a week for about the last 6 months. She's been paying her a lot of money to do it. And in the last 6 months, my mom's physique has changed. Her skin has changed. She's smiling more than I've ever seen her smile in the decades before. She's dancing when she finds out something cool is going to happen. I have never, ever seen her do that.
What's an example of something cool?
What's that?
What's an example?
Like, let's say she gets some good news.
Got it.
She'll dance to celebrate that good news. I've never seen that happen before. She's navigating her physical space in a way that's more playful. And I've never seen her she's playing with her body. I've never seen her do that before. And I have a different mom, which means I could be a different person. I could be a more complete person. To tie this back into why I want people to work with us, it's so that I'm not the only person that gets to enjoy what my mom is enjoying right now and that I'm getting to enjoy as a result of my mom becoming the kind of person that I know she would like to be and becoming the kind of person that I would like to have as a mom and a friend in that way.
Meaning we need more.
When we get people that work with us, we help people become the kinds of people that can do that kind of thing for my mom. And we need more of those people in the world.
And we help people like your mom become more like your mom now.
That's what I was trying to say. Yes.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's fucking cool. I've never heard you talk about that experience like that.
Yep. She'd probably be pissed if she listened to this, but we'll be all right.
Will she?
I don't know. I've gotten chewed out for that before. I can handle it.
It's look, it's difficult to listen to anything about yourself being told by someone else when you're not in the room, especially when it's true.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I value what is actually happening more than just about anything else. So I don't have a problem saying it. And
right.
I'm happy to take the heat for it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I won't send this over to her. If she finds it organically, it's hers. I don't want anything. That was really good.
Okay.
Turn pro. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Active Life Podcast. Remember, if you feel inspired by our vision to humanize the healthcare industry, professionalize the fitness industry, and empower individuals to live their lives, to reclaim their physical freedom, to develop careers, helping people reclaim their physical freedom. All you need to do is head to activelifeprofessional.com, find the appropriate link that represents you, and get in contact. We'll see you there.